All right. So thanks everyone for joining us. This is the Professional Development Consortium of Hampton Roads. We offer affordable, intimate education for leaders of membership associations, for example, professional societies, civic leagues, fraternal orders, basically any group that gathers around a common interest area. So it could be we're the left-handers in a right-hand world organization. That's fine. We're really focused on leadership and management skills that are that really pertain to what it takes to run a membership association. There are tons and tons of places to get leadership education. There's stuff that's pretty close to what we do at various nonprofit academies, but we teach to and connect people about the really incredible challenge of running a membership association. It's typically all volunteers there. The board's a working board. Nobody really gets to slack off, and we got to fit this all in besides the stuff that we do the rest of our day. So it's really important, I think, role we have, not only for that community of interest or that community of practice, but really for our community as a whole, because most of these organizations, I haven't found one yet that wasn't in some way, shape, manner, or form contributing to the overall elevation of the larger community around them. Interestingly enough, what I like about COVID is having made us go from a co-located approach to this virtual approach has allowed us to gain insights and share insights with folks that I used to say all around the state, and then I realized I got to say it all around the country, and recently all around the world. I think we'll probably stop at that point. We're not going to hook up with Elon Musk and get something out there on Mars or whatever on SpaceX. So tonight's show, if you will, is all about you. So our roundtables are designed to promote connection and communication among folks, typically membership associations, but not necessarily, who are interested in the subject at hand. So there is no lecture, even though I'm going on and it sounds like a lecture. There is no agenda per se. What we'll do as a group, we will create an agenda and we'll manage it for as long as we can stand talking about whatever it is we're talking about. Now, you were invited here with the premise that our discussion might focus on marketing and communications. It does not have to. As we go through, and I'll kind of step you through, how we build this meeting. We don't have to talk about that at all. We can talk about what the majority of people want to talk about, and it could be about cars or pets or it doesn't really matter. The idea here is to maybe share some insights, but it's really about building connections within our peer group. So with that, and see, Bill, have you made it in yet to the Lean Coffee Table site?
And then I just switched out, but let's see, am I not showing up?
I don't see you. I see me, Denise, and Scott.
Well, Tony, I can see that too. I can see Mark, Denise. So maybe I need to try and jump back in, I guess.
Well, hold on. Yeah, it may be completely my screen setting. So if you can participate, that's fine. I don't really need anything else. And Doug, are you able to? Are you already in the site as well?
Yes, I'm already in the site.
All righty. I'm just.
There's only 3 of us on there. It's Mark.
Yeah, it's funny because
Denise and Scott. That's it. The Lean Coffee Table thing.
Right. So
there was something I got a note that I was saying I was lost connection, but then it came back, but my name dropped. So maybe I should just get out and come back in. No harm in that, right?
Go ahead and give that a try. And Bill, you've participated in one, so you don't necessarily have to see it while I'm talking a couple other folks through it. And Doug, we'll check to see whether or not you're actually able to actively. There we go. See, Doug, I just saw you pop in. So how this works is I'll set a timer for like about, not too long, like maybe 3 minutes, and ask everybody here to make suggestions about what it is that you might like to talk about this evening. So in the center of the Lean Coffee Table screen, you'll see add topics. So this is one topic per entry. And probably best, even with a small crowd, if we can limit that to maybe 4 or 5 max per person. We probably won't get through everything, but this is how it works. So we'll add topics, and then after that, we'll pull any together that say, oh, here's 3 things that sound the same. Let's put them in a basket together. And then after that, when we've got everything in its little buckets, we'll each vote. You'll have 3 votes. You can say, yes, I'm definitely interested in that tonight, or you can put all 3 votes on one topic, or you can distribute them however you wish. And then after that, we'll just start going through the topics. And for each one of the topics, we'll start with about a 5-minute discussion. Again, there's a timer built into this thing. And we'll just go. And at the end of that 5 minutes, when the obnoxious timer goes off, we'll do a vote. Again, it's promoted on the screen or provided on the screen. We'll do a vote on whether or not we continue, and then we'll go for like 2 or 3 minutes or whatever. So we'll dance in the moment. It's so that's what I'll do now is I'll invite everybody to start adding topics, and you'll see your name and stuff pop up when you do that. So let's take 3 minutes and add some topics. Spelling and grammar do not count, by the way. All right, take maybe 1 more minute. Being a nonprofit, I can't afford the background music, so you'll just have to listen to me squeak in the chair and listen for the dogs running by. All right, I think looks like we're about there. So I'll just look for head nods. Well, like, a couple people don't have video on, that's okay. So I'm just going to kind of call it here. Yeah, we'll do that. And so the next step that I promised or threatened is that we merge these topics. And for this point, and especially because we got a pretty small crowd here, you're welcome to mute and unmute, as you wish. So if you've got a suggestion on, it's like, well, here's 2 things that ought to be together, or 3 things that ought to be together, just call them out. And I'll do the magic merging. So Bill, do you see anything in there, for example, that is similar to or could lump along with best tools out there for marketing?
I don't see any that merge together. They're all about kind of the, there's,
Well, I think my identifying the most effective recruitment avenues and what are the best tools out there are kind of the same idea. That's what I was getting at. So I
Okay.
combine those.
So I'm going to go ahead and merge these 2. And it's always an awkward moment because I only do this once every 3 months. So best tools for marketing and recruitment. Does that fairly capture it? I mean, we'll still have the details available to us.
I'm sorry. Am I supposed to see something that was reworded?
Not yet.
I didn't. What did you say?
I said, if I just combine them together and call them best tools for marketing and recruitment, would that keep us on topic?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Okay. So now you should see in the upper left corner, this best tools for marketing and recruitment. And if you're so motivated, you can click on the little stack in the bottom left of that card to see what we put together. Anything else here that catches your interest? I see at the bottom row here that Tanika, who had dropped in and then dropped out, she was registered but never zoomed in, has one there, so we can vote and talk even if she's not here. All right, so
I think it's an excellent question.
right, maybe she gets all the votes. Sorry, Tanika. So let's go ahead and do this. I think we're good on merging votes, and there's not that many of us, so it's not that difficult to manage. So at this point, I'd like you all to go ahead and cast your votes. So you do this by clicking where it says vote at the bottom of any of these, topic areas there, and you can click 1, 2, or 3 times, or you can just, you can distribute them as you wish. Dot voting, you've probably already done this on a flip chart somewhere.
So is there any limit on the number of votes?
You get
we
3
have?
votes. 3 votes,
Okay.
Bill.
Okay.
And you can. So this tool we're using shows me as the administrator, how many votes are left. Except for some reason now I can't see Scott at all. So Scott, are you able to vote?
Yeah, I voted.
Scott?
All right, cool.
I voted.
Right. So Denise and Doug, you both looks like you actually Doug's in. So Denise, you've got 1 vote left.
It says I've used up all my votes. I can't vote anymore. I'm like,
Yeah, I'm
okay.
sorry. I'm looking for my 3rd vote.
That's all right. Yeah, that's probably not something we're supposed to say, given the, ongoing political stuff. It's like, I'm looking for that, my second vote, or my third vote. It's like, well, that's not really supposed to happen.
That's right. Facebook could come in and grab us.
Right, no doubt. All right, so everybody's votes are in. So I've got this little start discussion button there. It'll ask me how long. We'll go 5 minutes. And it's just, it'll stack them in order. I think you guys will see that too. It'll stack them in order of the number of votes. And then I'll just kind of arbitrarily work my way down from the bottom, or down from the top. So let's see what we got here. So the missing Tanika wins. So we'll start with that. And 5 minutes, I'll put on the clock, and we're off and chatting. And this is just a free for all. Clear your mic. Chat away. Okay, I can't stand the silence. I do have a thought on this. So the PDCHR, we have a an event coming up at the end of the month, our leadership symposium. It's our biggest event. And I'm having difficulty making it stand out. I think there's an awful lot of academic oriented conferences going on this time of year. Plus asking people to participate not for 60 minutes or 90 minutes, but really 10 hours over the course of 3 days. And I don't know that I've done a great job yet of making it stand out. So I throw that out there as a baseline.
Let's see. Would it be useful to have some interactions ahead of time to get folks engaged? Kind of force some, try to force some engagement.
Forced engagement. I love that idea. Yeah.
I mean, so something. Again, the old brainstorming thing. Once folks get involved a little bit, so the first step to follow the breadcrumbs to be involved, big part. Stand out. So again, just brainstorming. What want to get some equity. Go ahead.
I submitted a comment on the discussion.
Oh yeah. So yeah, Denise, it's important to establish a good reputation for having a professionally facilitated and managed event before moving on to bigger things. Boy, ain't that the truth, right? It's interesting to me because that kind of ties to the some of the other topics out there about how do you establish that reputation even for those smaller events? How do you communicate that? And then there's always the question of affordability in there. Yeah, not trying to play devil's advocate, but at all. But this raises a lot of good considerations. So, Denise, do you have any insight where this is you think you've done well here, or opportunities for lessons learned?
Yeah, yes, a little bit. We did a I like, I think a lot of other people, especially in my age group, I learned the Zoom stuff since COVID started out of necessity. And, so I learned it was important to spend some time with my own members who are mostly in an older age group to help them feel a little bit comfortable with the technology themselves before we started having bigger community programs like we were used to doing pre-COVID. So by the time we did tried a really bigger program that ended up being so big that we had to get a webinar license because we had more than 100 people from all over the country who wanted to see this presentation. And, I think it really helped that we rehearsed. I think sometimes people put on some of these events without planning ahead, and doing a little bit of rehearsal. So those are the big things. And since that big event went so well, I found better involvement from our own members because they feel like this is, this is worth their while to spend time at.
Yeah, I hear you saying that if you're going to do a virtual event, make sure it stands out and it's really good. Otherwise, people will definitely tune out or tune off in the first 5 minutes. They don't have, people don't have the patience. If you're not ready to start and you're having technical issues, they're gonna drop out. I mean, I still think, obviously differentiate your event from other events is a way to make your event stand out. And then, again, just like in anything else, you're gonna have to invite people one-on-one. I think that's the key kind of thing is, and then ask them, hey, are you interested in coming? Why or why not? So that then you can get better idea of how to differentiate your event, Mark, from other ones. It's more time consuming, but it's kind of like pounding the pavement and calling people up, especially in a virtual environment where you're disconnected, you don't get to see people. So you're just gonna have to set up time and go, hey, I'd like to talk to you. I'd like to talk to you about my upcoming leadership event. You came last year. Would you be interested in this year? And you can find out, why or why not.
Right.
I mean, that's
right.
something if I was in your position, that's like how I would do. It's just maybe go back and look at people that found out,
This is a good point. So we ran it. So we've had our little 5-minute chat about this. So you should have on your screen, unless you've already voted, an opportunity to vote. A thumbs up if you want to keep going on this subject. I'm not sure what that is. It's kind of a Hawaiian thing. If you don't have a preference, or Roman style thumbs down if it's time to move along for you. And we just kind of go by majority vote.
This is a new tool I'm learning. I voted, but I can't get rid of that little screen.
It won't go away until everybody's voted.
Okay. Okay. Learning the new tool, I guess.
Which means I should vote. I tend to vote no preference because I don't want to be the guy managing our agenda. And of course, we've completely split the difference. 1 to extend, 3 don't care. One's done. Let me throw it out there. So is whoever voted to extend, are you willing to fess up?
Yes.
All right, Bill, how about if we split the difference on no preference, remove my vote, you get to go. Let's go for like 2 minutes because it wasn't a roaring thing. And that means, Bill, that you got to start.
Okay. So I started thinking, what attracts, almost, it's, I guess you have to have attraction power or star power type of thing to get folks. That helps perhaps with the Zoom thing. So as well as preparation, it's important to have somebody who's got their own drawing power that will bring somebody. If it's if all the headliners don't break out from people, from the community that's attracted to it, if they don't know who it is, it's probably likely they're not going to come. So that's how you might break out. Put an emphasis on the headliners there.
So a couple of things we've heard then is, the headliner, the personal touch, a good reputation for, a technically solid and professional looking series of events in the past. Anything else out there? Any other thoughts on this? Anything pop to mind, Doug?
I agree. When I've had the largest meetings, the most successful meeting, it's because we picked a good guest speaker, and we publicized it, and we organized it and had follow-up information to the community. If it was the mayor, if it's the city manager, if it's, you know, whoever, chief of police, and pick a timely topic.
Yeah,
And
I think that's when it
that's
seems
the
like
best.
it'd be an advantage with the civic leagues is you do have access to notables there. So that was our 2 minutes. Every time the chime goes, we vote again. So keep going. Don't go. Don't care. Okay, the votes are in and we are going to move along. And I'm just having a moment here because I thought this thing was going to move to discuss. There we go. No, I have to do that. So the next one that popped up on the left-hand side of the screen is how do we communicate with those we don't know but should? So I'm going to, we got a couple votes. Same thing, we'll go with 5 on this. And I'll take the liberty of starting because I was the guy who wrote this. So one of the things that I always, am really curious about is we know that there are other people who care about the same things that our association is built around. Or in my case, a nonprofit, we know that there's lots of people out there who run membership associations. Excuse me. So, how do we connect with those, all those people out there in a meaningful and powerful and effective way to get them interested to at least seek to learn a little bit more? And for me, that's a struggle. How do you get from a cold call email to something else that's more likely to elicit a response for engagement? So I'd love some thoughts on that.
Yeah, for us, we've been using Facebook, Nextdoor. We send out newsletters. We're now sending out postcards. We put up signs in the neighborhood. We try to get the message out there in as many ways as we can.
Are you able to assess, Doug, the effectiveness of those channels?
Well, but by the attendance that, when we have our monthly meetings,
Mhm.
physically in person, I judge it by the attendance. And then I look at what was the subject. Maybe we missed it on the subject. It's something that people aren't interested in. They've heard it all before. Or
So you don't ask people, how did you hear about this meeting? Like sign, Facebook, email, and get a survey or get some feedback from people about how did they find out about your event?
That's a good question. We haven't surveyed the group, but
Okay.
When COVID is over, we should do that and see, because there are competing venues out there right now. And like we have a web page for our Civic League, but very few people go to that. We try to direct them to that from Facebook or Nextdoor, and we have a distribution email list. But I haven't done a market analysis on why did you come to the meeting or how did you find out about the meeting. That's very important. We need to do that because that's a measure of effectiveness for our future meetings.
Do you is registration, Doug, if you don't mind my asking, is registration required, or who shows up is who shows up?
No, you can come to the meeting. You don't have to be a member. That's a way to gain membership. We always have the treasurer there with the application forms, and we have a turnover in our neighborhood with the older folks who are moving out. We have younger families moving in, and the younger families, they communicate differently. They don't get the Virginian Pilot. They probably don't get a newspaper. They, get their news from their phone. So we have to look at maybe Twitter or whatever the latest venue is to get the message out to the younger families. And we know that the time that we usually meet, 7 o'clock, they may be doing the dishes or doing homework with their kids or taking them to lessons, dance lessons, soccer practice. So there's different, different requirements based on your age and your status in life.
Have the demographics of your civic league shifted as the population has shifted?
Well, the members that come to the meetings are older. They don't have kids. They have the free time after dinner and before Jeopardy. And the younger folks, when I see them around the neighborhood, they tell me, I'd like to go, but I can't because we're doing homework or we're getting ready for the next day. So we're looking at possibly doing in-person with Facebook Live so that the folks that can't make it physically to the meeting could still get the information.
Doug, how's that next door? How many responses does it seem like you get from the next door thing?
Well, the next door is just like this food fight. There's a lot of people on it, and they're just throwing food at each other. Unfortunately,
Okay.
But it's another way to get the information out quickly. If we're gonna say you have a problem in the neighborhood, and it's a timely thing, if you put a newsletter, that could take weeks to get the information out. If you need to get it out quick, you could put it out through Nextdoor, Facebook, an email, if you have a group email for your neighborhood. But those things are not regulated, or there's no referee. People just pile on, and conspiracy theories and personal attacks begin to pop up, and you have to try to stomp that out.
Certainly a little bit.
I'm
of
going to
Wild West
join mine.
All right. Shall we continue? It's vote time. So shall we continue for a few more minutes on this subject? Please your votes, please. All right. Well, we're gonna go on here for pick 3 minutes because that's where my finger landed. So one of you yes voters, pick up the ball.
Okay, I was a yes voter, because this is a problem, really. The question that you asked was, how do we communicate? I think, how do we communicate with those we don't know but should? And that is precisely the problem that we face in AUW, because AUW is a national membership organization with branches all over the country, but the average age of the membership is somewhere in the 70s. It's an organization that's existed for 141 years now. And the women that, mostly women, although it is open to men, that are in this organization would love to see it continue to exist, because it has a mission that we believe in, which is advancing equity for women and girls. But to survive, we need a more diverse membership. We need a younger membership. And the problem is younger people don't join membership organizations very much anymore. And the demands on young women today, who we would really like to attract to our organization, are unlike anything my generation and certainly before had. I mean, today most families are most families with two parents, both parents are working, or single family, the single parent is working. So it's really hard to devote time to an organization like ours. But without that kind of commitment, we won't survive. So this question is like so critical to our survival. And we are, I have to say, really focused on it. We recently elevated a And I realize our organization's probably a little bit bigger than some of what you're talking about, but we recently elevated the position on our board for diversity, equity, and inclusion to a vice presidential position because we realize that we need better diversity in our organization. We're encouraging all of our branches to focus on it. We're providing training. So I don't have any quick and easy answers, but I guess I really am just saying it's a really, really important question.
So it's one of those questions, do you try to go find people that aren't part of an organization, or you steal from others? So the one I thought of was, I mean, if you're looking for younger people, there's a lot of, I met one of the people on one of these seminars are from the Virginia Beach JCs. So that's a group you could probably reach out to, because they're looking, you know, they would fit your demographic and your efforts. So something, again, they don't know about you, but you could probably read, you know, hey, we're looking for people to be part of our organization. This is our mission. It's like, oh, interesting kind of thing. So that was just an idea of a group that you could reach out to that would fit and probably support, and your mission would resonate with that same group. And that's another way. How do you communicate those things? You try to find other groups that are similar to what you're already doing. You know, or Hampton Roads ISPI, we found the ASQ group, and we've partnered with them on events or project management, or find ones that are similar groups. And so hopefully people can be part of two organizations instead of one. You know, that's something I've seen in the past.
Yeah, and that's a great point. That is something that we are doing in looking for other organizations that we can well, we're not allowed to say partner, participate with and do things with, that we have common goals to at least get people to know who we are and get our name out there in the community.
I hate to be the taskmaster. Not really. But so shall we continue on this topic? Time to throw your votes out there.
Hey, I have to sign off. I got to go down for dinner, but it's great meeting everybody and being part of this discussion.
All right, Scott.
Talk
Thanks
to you
for
guys
stopping in.
again. Okay, bye.
And I apologize. I clicked my button poorly. And I started the timer for 1 minute on us anyways. So I'm just going to jump in and just maybe share, a couple thoughts there, because I don't know if I can drag this off at this point. Oh, wait, maybe I can. So I'm going to say it anyways. To Denise's point, and something that Scott was just saying about connecting with other organizations. Remember, this is about delivering value to the membership. So there's still a question there about, yes, gaining more members, diverse members, gender, whatever, age is important for the health of the organization, but what's in it for them? I mean, there's that fundamental question. So that connection with the JCs that Scott mentioned, that's probably a great source for finding like-minded folks. But I think it has to be more of a, what are you interested in, or what are your concerns in terms of, we're just going to finish this. What are your concerns about, gender inclusivity and equity, or maybe a presentation, on that. Say, this is what we see, and we've been looking at this for quite a while, and I can't imagine that all you folks here in JCs, aren't facing some of these challenges now. What would you like to know about it? And so it's a conversation more about understanding their needs, rather than focusing on AAUW's needs, which is probably stunningly obvious, and I get that. So, so I'm going to move that one along here. Pick the next one. This is one Denise submitted. Click it for 5 minutes. And Denise, you want to get us started this on balancing virtual versus in person?
Yeah, sure. I guess, we've kind of found that there's some benefits to some of this virtual programming, because you can get more people involved, and also we've learned that you can get speakers that you may not have been able to get if you had to get them to travel somewhere, and all the expense of that. So there's a lot of benefits to virtual, but then again, people are a little bit weary of it, shall we say. And so I guess that's why I put this question up there is, what I'm trying to figure out what's a healthy mix of those. And, I'm one of I subscribe. I know that Mark, you really pushed the idea of programming being something that's very intentional, not just, oh, well, we'll have this speaker this month and that speaker. And I totally agree with you on that. So as we move forward with that kind of intentional programming, I'm trying to figure out what's the best mix of the virtual versus the in-person programming. And is there a way to combine the two so that you can get those people that may not have been able to participate in the past because they can't get out of their homes as easily, or the times aren't convenient, or they have children to care for, or whatever. So I think that there's a lot of benefits to the Zoom and the virtual meetings that we don't want to lose as we start getting back together in person.
Doug, I see you did
Yeah.
drop something there in the chat there.
Yeah, I think those are all excellent points. And my experience with virtual meetings is if the people know each other first, they've actually met face to face, and then we have to go virtual, there seems to be a more effective communication going on. If they've never met in person, they don't know each other. I don't know if it achieves that higher level of effectiveness in communication. Right now during COVID, we have no choice. But when this is over, when the pandemic passes, we may retain this virtual capability to augment the in-person, to address those people that can't make it.
Yeah, it is going. I'm going to jump in. What's going to happen though in the hybrids is folks, the folks that are hosting the in-person part of it will have to have this, a camera, the kind of a wide pan camera and a kind of big screen. If to be effective for everybody to see, for the people in person to see the folks on the Brady Bunch screen and vice versa. So that's going to be different. In times past, if you were in person, you didn't really have to worry about that stuff. You might have had a telephone with a conference call on it or something. But anyway, that's something probably is going to have to be part of the planning to be most effective in a hybrid situation.
Yeah, Bill, if I could just tag on that, and this for me is very personal, personally important as well. When I think about what does the consortium look like, for next year, plotting that out. And my biggest struggle with hybrid is the smaller struggle, for me, anyways, is what you're talking about. How does the moderator or facilitator or presenter, however, effectively interact with the audience that's co-located and the audience that's at some distance, right? So that's absolutely an issue. But the other thing that goes on right now is that we could be having our little sidebar conversations, in the Zoom chat room or whatever. You may well be doing those right now. I would have no idea, about that. And if you have, you basically, you wind up with some like haves and have-nots when you think about an audience that's there physically present with, paper notebooks or electronic notebooks or whatever it is. And how do we ensure that if they want to, how do they engage with the audience that's at a distance? And that's the one especially when we talk about, even this event, this evening about connection. It's like, if we were doing this hybrid, I don't know how to make the people, in the room at the ODU classroom have the ability to interact with those who are at a distance. So, my thinking right now is maybe it's an alternate, maybe it's a recording, so they can watch it and say, well, I know you can't be here. And, that's great, but maybe you can catch this stuff later. We talked a lot about this last March, or last month rather. We had our workshop was on hybrid events, and that's up on our YouTube channel. And if that's something is interesting.
Yeah, I was there for that. That was very good.
Yeah, there's a ton of stuff there, and poor Deanie was trying to sell something. And she was demonstrating some really good stuff. But unfortunately, I still walked out of there saying, I don't know if I can pull that off though. So, anyways, I've violated my own rules and just talked right past the clock. So, should we keep going on this or not? I'm going to keep voting no preference. All right, we're rolling in. Since that's a resounding 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, it's a slight margin. Let's go ahead and put say 2 minutes on this, and if we want later, we can always or after this, we can always come back to it if it's it hits its stride. So I'm going to put us on for another 2 minutes on this.
One of the things that there's I think a difference between hybrid events and offering some of your programs virtually and some of your programs in person. And that's kind of what I'm seeing that our group may do, because especially in our local branch we have a lot of older members who don't like to drive at night. So I'm thinking that if maybe we had 1 or 2 meetings during our program year that were virtual, and then the rest of them in person like we normally would do, that would help those people still feel connected to the group. Going with what you were saying, Mark, is even as you're wanting to bring in new members, you still need to keep your old members connected. So, and I think we're going to do that at the state level too, is offer some of our programs virtually, and then still have our spring conference in person and our summer leadership meeting in person, so that we still have those in-person events. So I see it as, this time offered this new opportunity for us to learn something new. So let's use it moving forward.
If all else fails, we'll learn something. Right? Yeah, that's again, all of this is just really interesting to me. So there's a question. This kind of goes back to surveying or understanding our audience is when we're approaching that decision about do we stay online, do we do more in face-to-face, if you will. Do we know what our audience wants, or our prospective audience? Do we understand their preferences? Maybe I'm saved by the bell. Shall we continue on this? Voting time.
Mark, I'm going to have to jump off the call now too. So
Okay.
this has been fun and interesting, and glad to meet everybody. So
All right,
thank you.
So you'll get a resource. You get an email with a resource page with like the summary of what we talked about and some other stuff. You'll see that on Friday. So Denise, I'm so
Great.
glad you could drop in. Thank you.
Nice to see you. Bye-bye.
Bye now. Well, I pressed the finish topic, so so that's what happened. Doug, Bill, want to keep going? Doug, that mute button is working like a champ for you.
Yeah, it was. I don't know. I could maybe go to 7. I mean, I could go further, but Doug, what do you think?
Well, this has been excellent. Well, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, I can't tell, it says mute. No, this has been excellent. I want to take this back to my Civic League Board of Directors.
Uh-huh.
Because I think the pandemic has forced us to address the way we communicate with the neighborhood. We're still doing this the way we started in 1997. You know, we put out the signs, we send out a newsletter, we hold the meetings, we have an email list. But I know the world is changing around us and we need to change with it. The challenge has been the board of directors are all older. I started this when I was in my 40s. Now I'm in my 60s. So, and I've kept up with technology, but there are younger members of our neighborhood now. And a lot of times when I talk to them, they've heard that we have a Civic League, but they've never been to a meeting. So this has been really good. I mean, this is food for thought for the BOD to look at the ways we communicate, survey people when they get there, see how they found out about the meeting, what would they like to see in the future. So this has been good. I really appreciate this.
Yeah, well, yeah, we'll keep going until you guys run out of steam. Yeah, I just wanted to do a little courtesy check. You know, I don't have any particular. That was me. I accidentally hit a clock, so I was ignoring it.
I was just gonna let me just follow up because Doug, another thing, a byproduct of this is just using this Lean Six, the Lean coffee tool. You might, you know, some of the things you do, it may be board meetings or brainstorming sessions or something like that. You kind of witness how it works and stuff like that. So that's another secondary benefit from participating in this session.
This has been great. Can I get that software?
Yeah, just take a look at your web browser there where it says leancoffeetable.com. That's all you need. They have, and you know, if your Civic League is organized as a nonprofit, probably is, it's free.
Okay.
Yeah, this is a great tool. I mean, we were doing these roundtables before the pandemic, you know, made us change our ways. And we would meet like a restaurant or something like that. And I'd come with a stack of stickies and a bunch of Sharpies. And it was exact same process, right? You know, going through there. I was just thrilled to find this. There's a learning curve, and as I've aptly demonstrated, because I don't use this really more than once every 3 months. There's an awkwardness, but I think you might have been able to sense that the group as a whole, just even over the 40 minutes or so we've been working this evening, it was like, okay, I get it. The vote's here. I understand our group dynamics. I can keep talking if I want, and nobody will jump, and stuff like that. So it's I think it's a great tool, and the fact that it preserves the conversation. I'll generate a PDF, and it basically kind of shows, here's the topics we talked about, any comments that were made, and here's the stuff we didn't talk about. That's a neat thing. This is used in other organizations much more formally, if you will. It kind of comes out of the agile software development world, or the basic agile philosophy, where we do a little, break a little, move a little, but we just keep doing it. And there are those who will do a lot of documentation through this, and go back and check action plans. I'm not going to go back and check whether or not anybody did any of this stuff, but I think it's really good. And even just simply the act of generating the questions, it's like your own, and seeing what others is like. Oh, it sucks that we didn't talk about that, but geez, that's something I need to learn more about, either on my own or plugging in with somebody else. So yeah, I really like it. Yeah, and Bill, thanks for spotlighting that. Is there anything else here on the to discuss column that we should take a peek at? Or hell, we can just shoot the shit right now. I'm cool with that too.
Well, the gaining commitment from the board, that's an ongoing issue.
Yeah, you want to put that one up there for our spotlight for a second?
Sure.
All right. I can do that. I think. So I'll just start a 5-minute timer, but we can totally ignore it. So what about this appeal to you, Doug?
Well, gaining commitment from the board, usually board members are busy people. So competing for their time, like for instance, tonight, I sent this out to the board and said, if you guys like to participate, please join me. But nobody signed up. 'Cause I know everybody's busy. So that is a challenge that we have had for the past 20 years.
Sure. So, so one of the things that I've discovered along the way, and we've touched on this in various, various facets, if you will, already, is I think that cold email call, even if it's like you said, Doug, it's to people it's your fellow board members, but there is something about being a recipient of a group email that really allows you to hide. So so here at PDCHR, Bill's the president of the board of directors, and we put out an ask to our board looking for a set of individual efforts in support of the upcoming symposium. And and Bill, let me know if I got this wrong, but the first email you sent out went to everybody, and you got crickets. And then when we had some time to tweak the wording a little bit and just send individual email, it wasn't a BCC or stuff like that. It's like, hey, hey Tom, hey Dick, hey Harry, could you do this? Would you consider that? I found they got a more positive response. Now, did it sweep in everybody? Heck no. But did it sweep in more than zero? Absolutely. So there's something about that personal touch, and that's it's the same thing with suggestion with Denise, going to the JCs. It's an opportunity to make personal connections. It's a wasted opportunity if you just talk to the crowd and don't stop and talk to 3 or 4 people who eyes were open for most of the presentation. So and so that gaining commitment from board members, it's I think just like asking for volunteers, committee members, somebody to go do something. The personal ask is really strong. And if they got any inclination, one of my favorite phrases is, can I count on you to do whatever the ask is, and that's more of a closer statement, stuff like that. But once you've got their interest, say, well, what's in it for you? Or you're on the board. We love that you're on the board. You do so many things to help elevate, our little neck of Kempsville. Would you be interested, or could we get your talents focused on this thing? And, you get that, any glimmer of light, first of all, it's hard to say no face-to-face. And we right now are face-to-face, by the way. Any glimmer though, that's when you can bring it home and say, can I count on you to make that call or to introduce me to, that person or whatever? And that's a little bit of psychological judo. Can I count on you? It really activates our natural tendency to want to help each other. Unless you got a bunch of psychopaths on your board or sociopaths on the board, then it won't make a difference. But most of us are wired to help those in need. And just that I need your help, but it really, can I count on you? Is like, it's like, how do you say no to that? I mean, you can say no. That's like, nah, screw you. You can't count on me. But again, that's your sociopaths that probably shouldn't be on the board anyway. So just a couple of thoughts. Having that personal asking and how to ask and how to close the deal. Is 100% effective? No. But is it better than sending one out to the wind and watching everybody look at their virtual shoes? Probably. So. Just one of my many preachy moments this evening.
Those are good points.
Yeah, the personal touch means a lot.
Oh yeah. Yeah, there's a certain gratitude for not being on the CC line or the dear all, thing. Stuff like, MailChimp and, other things like that. They allow you to put a personal name in there. And if you're mailing to 1,000 people, reaching out to every single individual to say, won't you please attend this meeting is pretty hard. But it doesn't mean that there might not be room to say, who around us, who in our community, who in our civic league, or who do we know in our neighborhood that's not in our civic league that really should come to this because they're a great connector, or they seem to have, there's like people always over at their house or whatever. And while you ask the masses, with that kind of cold email, marginally personalized, then you save some cycles, save some energy for those personal asks. And it might be just, hey, among the board, we asked like 5 people, individually, would they come or could they bring somebody with them next time? It could be huge. You don't know when you're going to strike gold. But if it's just emails, probably not. Slash Facebook slash, next door. And you're right, next door is a rolling fist fight. My goodness.
Yeah, I mean, it had the best of intentions when it started out, and it's good for lost pets.
Yeah.
But when it gets to any type of issue that has some substance and that may be complicated, Facebook and Nextdoor are terrible.
Yeah, self-filtering is not one of these strong indicators on either of those.
Yeah, so I pretty much have given up on those. I've said to people, if you want to come and talk about, we have a complex issue like strategic underground power. We're not just going to go back and forth on Facebook with messages and somebody comes up with conspiracy theory,
right?
And then you're bopping that gopher. So I'd rather meet them face to face or in a meeting like this, where we can have a little bit more structured conversation.
Right. And I think the beauty of a meeting, like this is, I didn't really, talk much about it, but it allows everyone to have a voice, right? So many conversations you pull together over Zoom or, face to face. There's, the conversation, kind of follows whoever yelled, last, loudest, and longest, right? And for those who don't find their energy that way, or might have a communication challenge, or et cetera, et cetera. The nice thing about this is that because we together figured out what it was we thought we would want to talk about, and then together we figured out in what order should we talk about them, and then together we decided how long we'll talk about each thing. It really improves the opportunity for everybody to have some kind of a vote, right? And if you don't like speaking up, for example, you could do like you did, Doug, and like Denise did at least once, is you type a comment in there, if you're comfortable with that. So, but yeah, I mean, so it's really cool, and the nice thing is it is a structured conversation, but the participants build the structure. It's like, if you walk out and say, well, that was stupid, it's like, well, you were an active participant in the stupidity. So, all right. More on this or something else you'd like to chat about on the list?
I think this is good for me.
All right. So we're moving on. Should we, and just for clarification, Doug, and Bill, is there something here something else that you think we want to chat about, or is Jeopardy coming on, or whatever? It's certainly up to you guys.
I think I've gotten out of this really what I wanted to get out of it. This has been excellent.
All right, very cool. Well, I appreciate that. And I appreciate the fact that you're now officially a repeat offender for PDCHR.
Yeah, I went to one out in North Suffolk. It was excellent.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, back in the old days. Yeah, I told Elizabeth, about your commentary, and she was very excited to hear that. And I'm very excited, and I'm sure Bill is as well, that she's part of our board now. I don't think she was at the time. but that was part of it. It was like, you clearly get what we're talking,
Mhm.
what we're trying to share. So yeah, great. I really appreciate the feedback on that.
Yeah, and Doug, well, I'm going to say, Doug, it's each one of these things is really a gem. I haven't been to I don't know what you call something that's not a gem. Didn't we say something about,
zirconium?
wasn't it was it within this thing with somebody said it's not, if you call something a dog, that's bad or something like that. Anyway, but there hasn't been any it's been all good. So look forward to having you in other things, Doug.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm going to see if I can get some of the other folks in my neighborhood involved, because I have PhDs and vice presidents of corporations, and I think they benefit from this.
Yeah.
You know, I did organizational effectiveness in the Army and operations research systems analysis, and so this all falls into. And I used to do facilitated war gaming and joint experimentations on future war fighting, and so this really resonates with me.
Yeah.
Well, Doug, you need a job? We hire those people sometimes, ORSA people, right?
Yeah, I was an ORSA. Yeah, I could do something
Okay.
part-time or part-time on call. I got to walk my
Okay.
dog, and relax.
Got it. And we support the joint staff out there at Suffolk and
Yep, that's where I
capability
work.
development.
Yeah, I worked
Okay.
in joint concepts and future joint concepts.
It's a
And
small world.
trying to evaluate them, that was a challenge. But we could have used something like this tool here for our discussions, because it would structure our discussions, and mainly we had people up there as facilitators. We try to capture it the best we could, and sometimes we had guys that were off-site and they were doing it like this.
Mhm.
And you'd have to have a facilitator or an assistant there looking at the comments from off-site. So
Okay. There's not to belabor this, but and I know there's a million people out there at different times, but you know a gentleman named Tony Oliver out there?
Tony Oliver, that name sounds familiar.
He's now in the architectural integration division, I guess, or whatever. But
Huh. Yeah. I was doing like joint concepts, the future joint concepts, and there was joint training, and then there was the guys that supported all of, all the exercises around the world, the joint Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine exercises.
yeah.
Yeah. When I first started out there, the paradigm was everybody came to us, everybody came to Suffolk, and that cost millions of dollars. And then we decided we would go to them. So a small team would go to UCOM or Southcom or wherever. And then we would all be in the first one I think was called IWS, Integrated or Internet Workstation or something like that. And we deployed teams around the world and we communicated like this. And this is so much more sophisticated than what we had. I really like this.
That's pretty cool. Hey, Doug, I'd like to make an offer. If it would be useful, because I've just picked up to my own bumps and bruises, a lot of insight, I think, from running this and my own association leadership roles. If there's something that you'd like me to, chat with your board of directors as a whole about, pretty much anywhere in this realm, I'm happy to do so. Short drop in. It could be as simple as sharing what PDCHR has to offer, or if there's a particular challenge area, or even facilitating a little thing like this. I'd love to do that. Really interested in extending our reach into the civic leagues and homeowner associations. We have a few, but not nearly as many, and that's. Those are even probably more thankless jobs than like the professional societies and the fraternal orders.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to solve real world problems with cut through traffic in my neighborhood, the delivery of underground power, all crime, we don't have a lot of crime, but just maintaining a safe neighborhood. And then the other things, neighbors meeting neighbors. We have a high turnover in the neighborhood now because of this housing boom situation, whatever it is. And, you know, a lot of people move in and they want to know more, but they don't know where to go. So we're trying to figure out how to contact those younger families that are very busy.
If you're not doing it now, you might want to consider tracking what Norfolk does. So the city has their neighbors building neighborhoods. I think this is the NBN Academy. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
No.
And when I share out the resources, I'll look that up.
Okay.
We're like tentative partners, or we cross train, but there's something there that I don't necessarily think exists here in the beach. I know there's the Virginia Beach Civic Organization Coalition, or something like that. But my sense is it's a gathering more so than instructional. But yeah, I'm going based on one data point, so feel free to extrapolate wildly. But I like what Norfolk is doing in terms of structure and things like that. And I've crashed that party a couple times, to learn more about them, as well as the topic of interest. I mean, here at Consortium, we're not going to there's no real advocacy role saying hey, how do you make yourself better at things that are very specific to being a civic league. It really speaks to leadership and management skills, such that whatever organization is can run healthily. That said, I'm a nuke engineer, so talking about underground power would probably be really exciting for me anyways.
Yeah.
All right, gents. So what do you say? We'll enjoy the gift of time, pull the plug, or whatever.
I appreciate it.
All right.
And like I said, I'm going to go watch Jeopardy now. Aaron Rodgers is the host.
I don't know who that is.
He's a quarterback with Green Bay Packers.
Wow, they're digging up all kinds of folks for.
A friend of mine, I don't know if Gary Roberts. Gary Roberts was a retired Navy commander, and he was a world-class war gamer, and he went on Jeopardy, and he won one night, and then he lost the next night. But it was so cool to watch Jeopardy and see my friend on there.
Right, how cool is that?
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to click off the recording here.
Okay.
And